Joining us live via Zoom from Brasilia, Nigeria's Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, for more on the bilateral agreements with Brazil, among other issues arising from President Tinubu's visit. Thank you for joining NTA News.
Thank you, Najatu. Good to be here.
Thank you, sir. Can we start with what both countries stand to achieve with deepening ties? Why is this important, especially as both leaders have met 4 times since President Tinubu came in?
Well, first and foremost, you underscore the importance of it. This is the 4th time both leaders are meeting. The first one was in Nairobi, Kenya. Of course, on the invitation of President Lula, President Tinubu was here in Brazil for the leadership of the G20 meeting. That was in November 2024. Subsequently, they met at the BRICS summit. Recall that Nigeria, though not a member of BRICS as it were, but it's a strategic partner of the BRICS community. And then today, the grand meeting between the two leaders. It was really a moment of shared history, of recollection of the journey so far, 350 years of slave journey between Africa and Brazil. And so for President Lula, this is a moment for Africa and Nigeria to reconnect, to come together once again. It's a region shared, separated only by the Atlantic. And then, of course, coming here is even a very difficult journey, 24, 25 hours or more to come here. So one of the agreements speaks to the need for them to have the restoration of bilateral air service agreement. This has led to one of the carriers from Nigeria, Air Peace, to shuttle between Brazil and Nigeria, and also Caboton for air cargo, and vice versa. Of course, Brazilian airliners are also permitted to also go to Nigeria. Of course, details are being worked out, but there is a symbolism in that. Indeed, the management of Air Peace is transporting some of the officials from Nigeria back to Lagos and then subsequently to Abuja to symbolize the beginning of that reconnection between Brazil and Nigeria. Of course, you mentioned also other areas of bilateral agreement in science and technology, in bilateral issues, in the health sector, in agriculture. A lot of issues were discussed. This is a very comprehensive visit. And in about 3 hours, the summary of it all is that Nigeria and Brazil have, come together. Remember, also they have a common history. Of course, the two countries are the major black nations on earth. They have a population almost similar to each other. Our culture, our music, our arts, so many similarities. Of course, so many years of disconnection between these two countries. And so the leaders have taken a position to come together to reconnect these countries. I think this is going to be important for Nigeria. I know that since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office, he has embarked on a series of reforms, removal of fuel subsidy, unification of the exchange rate, new tax regime. Brazil is also embarking on a new tax regime. So much similarity. And I think that both countries will now have the opportunity to lead the world, so to say, if they come together. And I want to emphasize that the meeting here is not just for Nigeria and Brazil. It is in a way also the re-engagement of Africa and Brazil through common history, a common culture, and a lot of areas of collaboration. We believe that this will indeed be the signpost of the beginning of bigger relationship between the two nations and between Africa and Brazil as a whole.
So you've touched on reconnection, of course, and deepening ties. Now let's quickly talk about what to expect as soon as the president returns. Like, for instance, the Green Initiative expected to create more than 100,000 jobs. Care to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, indeed. This is an investment in agriculture. Of course, in the last meeting between Nigeria and Brazil, and recall also that even after the last engagement between the two presidents, a delegation led by the Vice President of Brazil was in Abuja. He had meetings with his Nigerian counterpart, Vice President Kashim Shettima. He also met with Nigerian officials. Some of the Nigerian officials were also engaged with their Brazilian counterparts, the Ministers of Aviation, Minister of Livestock Development, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Education, Minister of Health. They've all come together met once or twice since that last meeting. So what this means is that there's now going to be a kickstart of the way forward. First, in the area of aviation, I've just told you that there is a symbolism in the flight that AIP is going to undertake between Brasilia here, the administrative capital, and Abuja. This will signpost the beginning of the air connection. 7 hours will connect Nigeria and Brazil instead of the former, method of going around the world, sometimes 24 hours, sometimes more than that, to come to Brazil and vice versa. So there's a gain in that direction. The agricultural investment that Brazil is going to do. Remember that Brazil is a leader in the world in terms of livestock development, in terms of poultry production. They have also undertaken to, do such investments in Nigeria. And this will, of course, give Nigerians an opportunity to employ over 100,000 people directly and a lot more than that indirectly. So, yes, there are a lot of areas of collaboration between the two countries, but I think that Nigeria stands to get enormously from that. President Bola Tinubu's reforms are indeed working. He's taking them country to country, and we are seeing the next bus stop here today in Brazil. And this indeed will create greater opportunities for both nations, especially for our teeming youth population in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. I've been speaking with the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, on the President's visit to Brazil and agreements reached. Thank you very much for offering such insight.
Thank you for having me.